And welcome back. The Ghislaine Maxwell trial beginning today in New York. She's a former girlfriend of Jeffrey Epstein, accused of sex trafficking minors. For a preview, let's bring in Newsmax correspondent Sarah Williamson with the latest. Sarah?
Thanks, Alison. The trial for Jeffrey Epstein's associate Ghislaine Maxwell begins this morning in Manhattan Federal Court. Maxwell allegedly conspiring with Epstein to sexually abuse girls as young as 14. The prosecution beginning to lay out its case at the trial that began at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time this morning. Now, one of the biggest shocks before the trial even began was when Giuffre, the woman who accused Prince Andrew and Epstein of sexual assault, is actually not expected to take the stand. Now, 59-year-old Maxwell is denying the charges and will likely distance herself from Epstein. The Maxwell family is pleading for Ghislaine's release, calling her detainment, quote, discriminatory. Now, Maxwell has been in solitary confinement since she was taken into custody. Alison.
All right. Thank you so much, Sarah Williamson. And joining us now is partner at the Bianchi Law Group, Bob Bianchi. Bob, welcome to the show. Bob, are you expecting any major bombshells in either the Maxwell or Smollett trials? Maxwell's accusers, they're expected to testify, but something that Sarah mentioned is that Virginia Giuffre, she's been very outspoken. She's been in a lot of the documentaries. She's not going to testify. Do you know why?
It's confounding given the amount of press, but I think the press may be the problem. Prosecutors don't want to put somebody on the stand that their credibility can be nicked here. They have four victims giving essentially the same theme and the same story. And they know that the defense attorneys are going to cross-examine these witnesses with respect to their credibility. One thing as a former prosecutor that I'd never wanted in a trial is my victims speaking in the media, because there's all sorts of cross-examination material. So prosecutors, I think, made an assessment that she would not bring value to the case. She may actually damage the case. It's the only thing I can think of under these circumstances.
Yeah, no, that does make sense. Bob, how do you think the optics look after President Biden, he nominated Judge Allison Nathan to the second court while she's overseeing the Maxwell trial?
There's nothing with that at all. This happens all the time in courts where judges are being elevated or nominated for a position. That's politics. I mean, the judges are not supposed to be involved in politics. I'm screaming and yelling all the time. It should be about facts and law. But the fact that she's been nominated to a higher court, to the appellate court, the Second Circuit, which is really a coveted and amazing position to get, does not mean that while that nomination process is going on, that she just has to stop and abdicate doing her duties in the district court. So this occurs all the time, non-issue.
Yeah, let's talk about the prosecution team. Former FBI Director James Comey's daughter, Maurene Comey, is one of the lead prosecutors in this trial. She also served as one of the prosecutors in Jeffrey Epstein's case. Your reaction? I mean, obviously, you know, a lot of people saying that they have a big case against her.
Well, the allegations against her are whopping. I can tell you from handling these cases, both on the prosecution side and the defense side, she will do decades in prison if she's convicted. But it comes down to credibility. And that's what the defense is going to argue. These are old allegations. It comes down to the credibility of the witnesses. And they also have a memory expert, Dr. Loftus, who's testified in a lot of high-profile cases, talking about how individuals' memories can be skewed. That said, as I indicated before, you have four victims essentially given the same modus operandi. And in fact, they're going to be able to talk about two other young ladies at the time that this happened as well, where they all have similar and consistent stories. And from court filings, it appears as if the government also may have other witnesses. I don't know if it's going to be under a grant of immunity or otherwise that may confirm these allegations. So from my experience with the U.S. Attorney's Office, they don't go to trial on a high-profile case like this unless they can deliver the receipts. But we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, and obviously authorities denying bail for Maxwell. Now her brother is speaking out. Take a listen.
The authorities lost Epstein on their watch in federal custody, theoretically under 24/7 guard, and they're taking it out on my sister. And that's just damn wrong. The denial of bail is wholly inappropriate. Ghislaine is a woman who somehow doesn't get bail.
So we know the prosecutors have a big case against her, but what do you think her defense will be?
I think the defense is going to be attacking the credibility. Exactly what he just said right now is that they didn't charge Ghislaine in the beginning when they charged Epstein. Epstein died, and it's what we call prosecution by proxy. They had to have somebody to go after, and Ghislaine was the person to do that. Of course, prosecutors will try to show that they were building an investigation against her. Additional evidence came out, and that is the reason why they decided to charge Ghislaine Maxwell. As far as the bail issue is concerned, Look, solitary confinement in a situation like that is extremely stressful. It makes it very difficult for the defense lawyers to have the proper kind of contact with the client so that you can communicate in order to prepare a defense. But the fact of the matter is she has lots of assets. She's got properties all over the world, including internationally. And the prosecutors were able to convince the judge that she was a flight risk.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I quickly want to get to this Jussie Smollett case. Obviously, this trial, this has been, taking place, jury selection. Do you think he even has a defense? We have about 15 seconds.
He doesn't have a defense. This case has been disgusting the way it was prosecuted in the beginning. The special prosecutor did the right job by reinstating these charges. The citizens and the grand jury that indicted him previously now have their justice because he will now face the music. I think the case is strong, although the sentence will probably be weak.
Yeah, what do you think his defense will even be?
I don't know if he's got I mean, his defense is going to be that I didn't lie. I mean, but the bottom line here is that he had gotten special favored treatment by Kim Fox, who was the prosecutor at the time. An independent investigative team went in there, found out what she did was not an appropriate use of her discretion in dismissing those charges. And I think the evidence against him, from what I have reviewed, is very solid. But I'll tell you what, the way this whole thing went down with Kim Fox makes me sick to my stomach as a former prosecutor.
Yeah, a lot of eyes are going to be on both of these trials. Bob Bianchi, thank you so much for joining us today and your insight.
My pleasure.